Close your eyes and let your imagination wander back through the mists of time. Tonight we'll journey together through 100 fascinating facts about myths and legends from around the world. From the thunder gods of ancient Norse halls to the shapeshifters of African villages, from the dragons of Asia to the spirits of the Pacific Islands. These are stories that have been told for thousands of years, passed down through generations, whispered around campfires, carved into temple walls, woven into tapestries. They are humanity's oldest dreams and deepest fears, transformed into tales. There's no need to remember everything. Just let these ancient stories carry you gently into sleep, like a boat drifting down a moonlit river. Let's begin our journey through the myths of the world. Fact 1. Let's begin in ancient Greece, where gods walked among mortals and heroes undertook impossible quests. The Greeks believed Mount Olympus, the highest mountain in Greece, was home to 12 major gods who ruled over different aspects of life. These weren't distant, perfect deities. They loved, fought, felt jealous, and made mistakes, just like humans. Fact 2. Zeus, king of the gods, was famous for his thunderbolts, but here's something many don't know. Zeus wasn't always king. He overthrew his own father, Cronus, who had overthrown his father before him. This cycle of sons overthrowing fathers reflected the Greeks' understanding that each generation must challenge the previous one to move forward. Fact 3. Cronus, Zeus's father, had swallowed his own children whole because he feared they would overthrow him. He swallowed Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. But when Zeus was born, his mother Rhea tricked Cronus by giving him a stone wrapped in cloth instead. Cronus swallowed it, thinking it was the baby. Zeus grew up in secret, then returned to free his siblings. Fact 4. Athena, goddess of wisdom, was born in the strangest way imaginable. She sprang fully grown and fully armored from Zeus's forehead after he swallowed her pregnant mother, Metis. The Greeks told this story to show that wisdom comes directly from the mind, not from physical birth. Fact 5. The goddess Athena gave Athens its name by winning a contest against Poseidon, god of the sea. Both wanted to be the city's patron deity. Poseidon struck the ground and produced a spring of water, but it was salt water, useless for drinking. Athena planted an olive tree, offering wood, oil, and food. The citizens chose Athena's practical gift. Fact 6. Prometheus, whose name means forethought, was a Titan who sided with Zeus during the war between Titans and Olympians. But later, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. This gift represented not just literal fire, but knowledge, technology, and civilization itself. For this, Zeus had him chained to a rock where an eagle would eat his liver every day. Since he was immortal, his liver would grow back each night, and the torture would continue forever. Fact 7. The story of Prometheus's punishment lasted until Heracles, the greatest Greek hero, freed him during one of his famous 12 labors. The Greeks believed that even the gods' punishments weren't necessarily eternal. That heroic action could change fate itself. Fact 8. Pandora, according to Greek myth, was the first human woman created by the gods as punishment for Prometheus's theft of fire. She was given a jar, mistranslated for centuries as a box, and told never to open it. But curiosity overcame her, and she opened it, releasing all the evils into the world: disease, death, hatred, greed. Only one thing remained at the bottom: hope. Fact 9. The Greeks debated what it meant that hope remained in Pandora's jar. Some said hope was a blessing that helps humans endure suffering. Others argued hope was itself an evil, false comfort that keeps us from seeing reality clearly. This ancient debate continues even today. Fact 10. The Muses were 9 sister goddesses who inspired creativity. Each governed a different art: Calliope for epic poetry, Clio for history, Erato for love poetry, Euterpe for music, Melpomene for tragedy, Polyhymnia for sacred hymns, Terpsichore for dance, Thalia for comedy, and Urania for astronomy. Ancient Greek poets would invoke the Muses before beginning their work, asking for divine inspiration. Fact 11. Orpheus, the greatest musician in Greek mythology, could charm all living things with his lyre. When his beloved wife Eurydice died from a snake bite, Orpheus travelled to the underworld itself. His music so moved Hades and Persephone that they agreed to let Eurydice return to life, but only if Orpheus didn't look back at her until they reached the surface. At the very last moment, Orpheus looked back, and Eurydice vanished forever. Fact 12. The story of Orpheus looking back has been interpreted countless ways. Some see it as human weakness, we can't trust even when trust is required. Others see it as love's nature, we must see our beloved even if it destroys us. The Greeks understood that the greatest stories don't have simple meanings. Fact 13. Medusa, the famous monster with snakes for hair whose gaze turned people to stone, wasn't always monstrous. According to some versions, she was once a beautiful priestess in Athena's temple. After Poseidon violated her in the temple, Athena punished Medusa by transforming her into a monster. Later storytellers questioned why the victim was punished rather than the perpetrator. Fact 14. Perseus, aided by the gods, killed Medusa by looking at her reflection in his polished shield rather than directly at her. From Medusa's severed neck sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a giant with a golden sword. Even in death, Medusa gave birth to wonders. Fact 15. The hero. Theseus entered the labyrinth of Crete to slay the Minotaur, a creature that was half man, half bull. The Minotaur lived at the center of an impossible maze designed by the genius inventor Daedalus. Theseus used a ball of thread given to him by King Minos's daughter Ariadne, unspooling it as he went deeper. After killing the Minotaur, he followed the thread back out. Sometimes the solution to impossible problems is simpler than we think. Fact 16. The Trojan War, immortalized in Homer's Iliad, supposedly began because of an apple. The goddess of discord, Eris, wasn't invited to a wedding, so she threw a golden apple inscribed "for the fairest among the goddesses." Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite each claimed it. They asked Paris, a prince of Troy, to judge. Each goddess offered him a bribe. Paris chose Aphrodite, who promised him the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen, who was already married to a Greek king. Paris took Helen to Troy, and the Greeks launched 1,000 ships to get her back. Fact 17. The Trojan War lasted 10 years. The Greeks finally won through deception the famous Trojan horse. They built a giant wooden horse, left it outside Troy's gates, and pretended to sail away. The Trojans brought the horse inside their walls as a victory trophy. That night, Greek soldiers hidden inside the horse emerged and opened the city gates. Sometimes, victory comes not through strength, but through cunning. Fact 18. After the Trojan War, Odysseus spent 10 more years trying to reach home, facing trial after trial. His journey, told in Homer's Odyssey, has become the archetypal adventure story. He encountered the Cyclops, the Sirens, whose song lured sailors to death, the witch Circe, who turned men into pigs, and countless other dangers. The Odyssey teaches that coming home is often harder than leaving. Fact 19. When the Romans conquered the Greeks, they adopted Greek mythology wholesale, simply changing the names. Zeus became Jupiter, Hera became Juno, Athena became Minerva, Aphrodite became Venus, Ares became Mars, and so on. The Romans saw Greek culture as sophisticated and worth preserving, even as they conquered Greece militarily. Fact 20. One uniquely Roman myth told of Romulus and Remus, twin brothers abandoned as infants and nursed by a she-wolf. When they grew up, they decided to found a city, but they argued about where to build it, and Romulus killed Remus. Romulus then founded Rome, naming it after himself. This violent founding myth suggested that Rome itself was built on fratricide, brother killing brother, foreshadowing the civil wars that would eventually tear the Roman Republic apart. The gods of Greece and Rome were powerful yet flawed, eternal yet petty, wise yet foolish. They were mirrors in which the ancients saw themselves magnified. As we drift deeper into sleep, let these stories from the Mediterranean fade like sunset over the Aegean Sea. Now we travel north to the cold lands of the Vikings and the misty isles of the Celts, where different gods held sway. Fact 21. Norse mythology centers on Asgard, home of the Aesir gods, connected to the human world of Midgard by a rainbow bridge called Bifrost. But unlike Greek gods who were immortal, the Norse gods knew they would die. They foresaw Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, when everything would end in fire and ice. Fact 22. Odin, the Allfather, chief of the Norse gods, was a seeker of knowledge willing to pay any price. He hung himself from the world tree Yggdrasil for 9 days and nights, pierced by his own spear, to gain knowledge of the runes. He sacrificed one of his eyes to drink from Mimir's well of wisdom. The Norse valued knowledge so highly that even their chief god mutilated himself to obtain it. Fact 23. Odin kept 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, Thought and Memory, who flew across the world each day and returned to whisper news in his ears. He also had 2 wolves, Geri and Freki, and rode an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. The Norse imagined their gods as warriors and wanderers, always seeking, always moving. Fact 24. Thor, Odin's son, was the god of thunder, storms, and strength. He wielded Mjolnir, a hammer so powerful it could level mountains. Unlike his father's cunning, Thor relied on straightforward strength. He was the protector of humanity, constantly fighting giants who threatened both gods and mortals. Thor was so popular that many Vikings wore hammer amulets for protection. Fact 25. Loki, the trickster god, was blood brother to Odin, but brought chaos wherever he went. He was cunning, shape-shifting, and impossible to predict. Sometimes his tricks helped the gods. He recovered Thor's stolen hammer and Sif's golden hair. But his greatest trick led to the death of Balder the Beautiful and set in motion the events of Ragnarok. Fact 26. Loki was father to 3 monstrous children. Jormungandr, the world serpent so large it encircled the earth and bit its own tail. Fenrir, the giant wolf destined to swallow Odin during Ragnarok. And Hel, who ruled over the realm of the dishonored dead. The gods tried to contain these monsters, but prophecy said they would break free at the end of days. Fact 27. Balder, son of Odin and Frigg, was the most beloved of all gods, beautiful, wise and kind. When Balder began having dreams of his own death, Frigg travelled the world making everything swear not to harm him. Everything agreed, except mistletoe, which seemed too young and harmless. He discovered this, tricked Balder's blind brother into throwing mistletoe at Balder, and the gentle god died. Fact 28. The gods tried to retrieve Balder from Hel's realm. The goddess Hel agreed to release him if everything in the world wept for him. Everything did, trees, stones, metals, animals, and people, except one giantess, hiding in a cave, who refused. That giantess was Loki in disguise. Because not everything wept, Balder remained dead, and the countdown to Ragnarok began. Fact 29. Ragnarok, the Norse apocalypse, tells of a final battle where gods and giants will destroy each other. Odin will be swallowed by Fenrir. Thor will kill Jormungandr but die from its poison. The fire giant Surt will burn the 9 worlds. Everything will sink beneath the waves, but the myths say the world will eventually rise again, green and beautiful, and a few gods and 2 humans will survive to repopulate the earth. Endings are also beginnings. Fact 30. The Valkyries were Odin's warrior maidens who decided which slain warriors would go to Valhalla, Odin's great hall where the honored dead feast and fight every day, preparing for Ragnarok. The Valkyries would ride over battlefields, choosing the bravest. In Valhalla, warriors who fell in training would rise again each evening to feast. This was the Norse heaven, eternal battle and eternal celebration. Fact 31. Moving to Celtic mythology, we find different but equally powerful myths. The Celts of Ireland, Scotland, Wales and Brittany believed in the Tuatha De Danann, the people of the goddess Danu, a supernatural race who inhabited Ireland before humans. They were skilled in magic and crafts, neither fully gods nor fully human. Fact 32. The Dagda, chief of the Tuatha De Danann, owned a magical cauldron that could never be emptied and a harp that could play itself. He was a figure of abundance and protection, a father figure who ensured harvests and defended his people. The Celts saw divinity in the land itself, in rivers and wells and ancient trees. Fact 33. The Celtic otherworld wasn't clearly heaven or hell, but a parallel realm that could be reached through caves, mist, or bodies of water. Time moved differently there. A day in the otherworld might be 100 years in the mortal world, or vice versa. Heroes who visited the otherworld returned, changed, if they returned at all. Fact 34. Celtic mythology is filled with shapeshifters. The children of Lear were transformed into swans for 900 years by their jealous stepmother. The hero, Tu Chulin, fought the Morrigan, a goddess who appeared as a crow, eel, wolf, and beautiful woman. Shape-shifting represented the fluidity between human and natural worlds, between one form of existence and another. Fact 35. Tu Chulin, the greatest Irish hero, had a fearsome battle frenzy called Riastrad. When it overcame him, he would become unrecognizable. One eye would bulge from his head, while the other sank deep into his skull. His muscles would twist and contort, and he would kill friend and foe alike. Only being plunged into 3 successive vats of cold water could calm him. Celtic heroes weren't just brave, they were terrifying. Fact 36. The Welsh Mabinogion tells of Blodeuwedd, a woman created from flowers as a wife for Lo Lor Giffis. But Blodeuwedd and her lover tried to kill Lo. As punishment, she was transformed into an owl, forever associated with darkness and betrayal. Even magical creation can't overcome free will. Fact 37. Celtic Druids were priests, judges, teachers, and astronomers. They studied for 20 years to memorize all the sacred knowledge which was never written down. They could walk between warring armies without harm because they were considered sacred. When Christianity arrived, much Druidic knowledge was lost forever. Fact 38. The Celtic festival of Samhain, celebrated at the end of October, marked the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter, the dark half of the year. The Celts believed the veil between worlds grew thin at Samhain, allowing spirits to cross over. They lit bonfires and wore costumes to ward off harmful spirits. This festival eventually evolved into Halloween. Fact 39. Celtic mythology emphasized sacred groves, wells, and springs. Trees, especially oak, ash, and thorn, were considered dwelling places of spirits. Wells could grant wishes or curse those who disrespected them. The land itself was alive with divinity, deserving reverence and care. Fact 40. King Arthur, though a medieval legend, has roots in Celtic mythology. The sword in the stone, the Lady of the Lake, Excalibur, Merlin the Wizard, and Avalon, the mystical island where Arthur was taken to heal, all echo older Celtic beliefs about magical weapons, water spirits, druid wisdom, and the other world. The story of Arthur blends Christian chivalry with pagan magic. The north wind carries these stories to us, tales of gods who knew they would die, of warriors who never surrendered, of druids who spoke with trees, of a world where magic was as real as stone and steel. Let these myths blow through your thoughts like wind through ancient forests. Now we journey to the cradle of civilization, where the first cities rose beside great rivers, and the oldest written myths were carved in stone. Fact 41. Ancient Egyptian mythology centered on the cycle of death and rebirth, reflected in the Nile's annual flooding that brought fertility to the desert. The Egyptians didn't see death as an ending, but as a transformation, a journey to another life. This belief shaped everything about their culture, from their pyramids to their daily prayers. Fact 42. Ra, the sun god, was the supreme deity of ancient Egypt. Each day, Ra sailed across the sky in his solar bark, a boat carrying the sun. Each night, he traveled through the underworld, doing battle with Apophis, the serpent of chaos who tried to swallow the sun. Every dawn represented Ra's victory, and the Egyptians performed rituals to help him in this eternal struggle. Fact 43. The Egyptian creation myth tells of Atum, who existed before all things in the waters of chaos, called Nun. Atum created himself, then created Shu, air, and Tefnut, moisture, by spitting or sneezing them out. From them came Geb, earth, and Nut, sky, and from them came Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys, the gods most important to Egyptian daily life. Fact 44. Osiris was the god of the dead and king of the underworld. According to myth, he was once a wise king who taught humans agriculture and civilization. His brother Set grew jealous, killed Osiris, dismembered him, and scattered the pieces across Egypt. Osiris's devoted wife, Isis, searched until she found every piece and used magic to resurrect him. But he could no longer live in the world of the living, so he became king of the dead instead. Fact 45. Isis was one of the most powerful goddesses in Egyptian mythology, a master of magic, a devoted wife and mother, and a protector of the vulnerable. Her cult eventually spread throughout the Roman Empire. She represented the power of love and magic to overcome even death itself. Fact 46. Horus, son of Isis and Osiris, avenged his father by fighting Set. Their battle was so fierce it lasted 80 years. Eventually, the gods declared Horus the rightful king of Egypt. Every pharaoh was considered a living embodiment of Horus, and when the pharaoh died, he became Osiris. The king was always divine, always connected to the gods. Fact 47. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, guided souls through the underworld and presided over mummification. When someone died, Anubis would weigh their heart against the feather of Ma'at, truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the person could enter paradise. If heavier, the heart would be devoured by Ammit, a demon, and the soul would cease to exist. The Egyptians believed that living justly mattered more than anything. Fact 48. Thoth, the ibis-headed god, was the keeper of knowledge, inventor of writing, and measurer of time. He recorded the judgment of souls and maintained the universe's balance. The Egyptians credited Thoth with creating all language, science, and magic. Without Thoth, there could be no order, no records, no memory. Fact 49. Bastet, originally depicted as a fierce lioness, later became the gentle cat goddess, protector of homes and families. Cats were sacred to Bastet, and killing a cat, even accidentally, was a serious crime. When a household cat died, the family would shave their eyebrows in mourning. Hundreds of thousands of mummified cats have been found in temples dedicated to Bastet. Fact 50. The Egyptian Book of the Dead wasn't actually a book, but a collection of spells, prayers, and instructions to help the deceased navigate the underworld. These texts were written on papyrus scrolls and placed in tombs. They included passwords, warnings about dangerous creatures, and advice on what to say to various gods. The Egyptians believed knowledge could help you even after death. Fact 51. Moving east to Mesopotamia, we encounter humanity's oldest written myths. The Sumerians, who lived in what's now Iraq over 5,000 years ago, wrote on clay tablets that have survived to this day. Their myths influenced everyone who came after: the Babylonians, Assyrians, and even the Hebrews. Fact 52. The Mesopotamian creation myth Enuma Elish tells of Marduk, who defeated Tiamat, the primordial goddess of salt water and chaos. Tiamat took the form of a massive dragon. When Marduk killed her, he split her body in half. One half became the sky, the other the earth. From her tears flowed the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Creation came from violence and division. Fact 53. The Epic of Gilgamesh, written over 4,000 years ago, is humanity's oldest surviving great work of literature. It tells of Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, who was 2/3 god and 1/3 human. He was arrogant and tyrannical until he met Enkidu, a wild man who became his beloved friend. Together they had many adventures, but when Enkidu died, Gilgamesh's grief drove him to seek immortality. Fact 54. Gilgamesh's quest for immortality led him to Utnapishtim, the only human ever granted eternal life. Utnapishtim told Gilgamesh about the Great Flood, a story remarkably similar to Noah's Ark. The gods had decided to destroy humanity with a flood, but Utnapishtim was warned. He built a great boat, saved his family and animals, and survived. Afterward, the gods granted him immortality as a reward. Fact 55. Utnapishtim tested Gilgamesh, telling him that if he could stay awake for 7 days, he would receive immortality. Gilgamesh immediately fell asleep for 7 days. When he woke, Utnapishtim showed him 7 loaves of bread, each baked on a different day, to prove how long he'd slept. Gilgamesh finally understood he was human, and humans must accept mortality. Fact 56. Before leaving, Utnapishtim told Gilgamesh about a plant growing at the bottom of the ocean that could restore youth. Gilgamesh dove deep and obtained it, planning to share it with the elders of Uruk. But while he bathed in a pool, a serpent stole the plant and ate it. That's why snakes shed their skin and appear to become young again. They stole humanity's chance at renewed youth. Fact 57. Gilgamesh returned to Uruk having gained no immortality but having learned wisdom. The epic ends with him looking at the walls of his city, walls he built that would outlast him. This is the immortality available to humans: what we create, what we build, what we leave behind. Fact 58. Inanna, called Ishtar by the Babylonians, was the goddess of love, beauty, war, and political power. According to myth, she descended into the underworld to visit her sister Ereshkigal. At each of 7 gates, she had to remove a piece of clothing or jewelry until she stood naked and powerless. Ereshkigal killed her and hung her corpse on a hook. Only through cunning did Inanna's servants manage to bring her back to life. Fact 59. Inanna's descent has been interpreted as a metaphor for the seasons. Her absence from the world caused winter, her return brought spring. It also represents the necessity of descending into darkness, of stripping away everything before renewal can occur. Sometimes we must lose everything to understand what matters. Fact 60. The Mesopotamians believed in a grim afterlife. The dead descended to a dark underworld where they ate dust and clay, dressed in feathers like birds, and dwelt in darkness forever. There were no separate rewards or punishments based on how you lived. Everyone went to the same shadowy place. This made life precious because it was all you had. The Mesopotamians chose to enjoy life while it lasted. From the sands of Egypt to the rivers of Mesopotamia, from the first cities to the first written words, these ancient peoples pondered the same questions we ask today. Why do we die? What comes after? How should we live? Their answers became stories, and those stories have outlasted their kingdoms. Now we travel east, across mountains and seas, to the ancient civilizations of Asia, where mythology blended with philosophy and different gods held sway. Fact 61. Chinese mythology stretches back thousands of years, blending with Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism into a rich tapestry of beliefs. Unlike Western mythology with its clear pantheon, Chinese myths accumulated over millennia from many regions and dynasties, creating an ever-evolving collection of stories. Fact 62. Pangu, in Chinese creation myth, was the first living being. He was born from the cosmic egg that contained the chaos before the universe. When Pangu emerged, he separated yin from yang. The light, pure elements rose to become heaven, while the heavy, impure elements sank to become earth. For 18,000 years, Pangu stood between them, growing taller each day, pushing them further apart. Fact 63. When Pangu finally died from exhaustion, his body became the world. His breath became wind and clouds, his voice became thunder, his eyes became the sun and moon, his limbs became the 4 directions and mountains, his blood became rivers, his flesh became soil, his hair and beard became stars, his skin and body hair became plants, and his teeth and bones became metals and stones. The entire world was literally Pangu's body. Fact 64. The Jade Emperor, Yu Huang, became the supreme ruler of heaven in Chinese mythology. Unlike Greek Zeus or Norse Odin, the Jade Emperor earned his position through centuries of cultivation and virtue, not through battle. He rules over all realms, heaven, earth, and the underworld, delegating responsibilities to various gods and immortals. Chinese mythology emphasized that authority should be earned through merit, not birth. Fact 65. The 4 dragon kings each rule one of the 4 seas that border China. They control weather, especially rain. During droughts, emperors would pray to the dragon kings for rain. In one story, when the Jade Emperor refused to send rain during a terrible drought, the 4 dragon kings took water from the sea and released it as rain. For this act of compassion, the Jade Emperor imprisoned them by turning them into 4 great rivers that still flow through China today. Fact 66. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, is one of China's most beloved mythological characters. Born from a stone, he learned magic and fought his way into heaven, declaring himself great sage equal to heaven. He stole the peaches of immortality, pills of longevity, and caused such chaos that Buddha himself had to stop him. Buddha trapped Sun Wukong under a mountain for 500 years until the monk Xuanzang freed him. Fact 67. The novel Journey to the West tells how Sun Wukong accompanied the monk Xuanzang on a pilgrimage to India to obtain Buddhist scriptures. Along the way, the Monkey King protected Xuanzang from demons and monsters. Despite his incredible power, Sun Wukong wore a magical headband that Xuanzang could tighten by chanting, causing unbearable pain. This ensured the Monkey King's obedience. Even the mightiest must learn humility and discipline. Fact 68. Chinese mythology features 8 immortals, Taoist figures who achieved immortality through different paths. Each represents a different aspect of life: wealth, poverty, male, female, old age, youth, nobility, and common folk. They're often depicted traveling together, teaching that immortality and wisdom aren't limited to any particular type of person. Fact 69. The legend of the white snake tells of a white snake spirit who practiced Taoist cultivation for 1,000 years until she could transform into a beautiful woman. She fell in love with a human scholar, married him, and tried to live as a mortal. But a Buddhist monk recognized her true nature and trapped her under a pagoda. Her love was genuine, but the natural order wouldn't permit a demon to live as human. Later versions of the story end happily, reflecting changing attitudes that love can transcend boundaries. Fact 70. The Weaver Girl and the Cowherd is a tragic love story celebrated during the Chi-Chi festival. Jinu, a goddess and the Jade Emperor's daughter, fell in love with a mortal cowherd. They married and had children, but when the Jade Emperor discovered this, he separated them by the Milky Way, allowing them to meet only once a year when magpies form a bridge across the sky. This story reflects the belief that different worlds, mortal and divine, shouldn't mix. Fact 71. Moving to Japanese mythology, the Shinto religion teaches that kami, spirits or gods, inhabit everything: mountains, rivers, trees, rocks, even specific locations. Some kami are powerful deities, others are ancestor spirits, and some are the spirits of natural phenomena. This belief created a deep reverence for nature. Fact 72. The Japanese creation myth tells of Izanagi and Izanami, husband and wife deities who descended to create the world. Standing on the floating bridge of heaven, they thrust a jeweled spear into the primordial ocean. When they pulled it up, drops of brine fell from the spear tip and became the first island of Japan. They descended to this island, married, and gave birth to the other islands of Japan and various kami. Fact 73. Izanami died giving birth to the fire god and went to Yomi, the underworld. Devastated, Izanagi followed to bring her back. She agreed to ask the gods of Yomi to let her return, warning Izanagi not to look at her. But impatient, Izanagi lit a torch and saw that Izanami's body was rotting and crawling with maggots. Horrified, he fled. Izanami, humiliated and enraged, chased him with demon hags. Izanagi barely escaped, blocking the exit to Yomi with a boulder. Fact 74. From Izanagi's purification, after returning from Yomi, came the most important Shinto deities. Amaterasu, the sun goddess, was born from washing his left eye, Tsukuyomi, the moon god, from his right eye, and Susanoo, the storm god, from his nose. These three would rule over heaven, night, and the seas respectively. Fact 75. Amaterasu, the sun goddess, is the most important deity in Shinto mythology and the ancestor of the Japanese imperial line. Once, her brother Susanoo behaved so badly that Amaterasu hid in a cave, plunging the world into darkness. The other gods tried everything to lure her out. Finally, a goddess performed a comical dance that made everyone laugh. Curious about the laughter, Amaterasu peeked out, and the gods quickly blocked the cave entrance. Light returned to the world, and Susanoo was banished. Fact 76. Susanoo, though initially troublesome, became a hero when he encountered an elderly couple mourning because a terrible eight-headed, eight-tailed dragon demanded their daughter as sacrifice. Susanoo agreed to fight the dragon in exchange for marrying the girl. He prepared 8 vats of strong sake, which the dragon drank greedily. When the dragon passed out drunk, Susanoo killed it. From the dragon's tail, he discovered the legendary sword Kusanagi, which he gave to Amaterasu. Fact 77. In Hindu mythology, which spread throughout India and Southeast Asia, the universe follows an eternal cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction overseen by the Trimurti: Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer. Each age of the universe lasts billions of years, then Shiva destroys everything, and Brahma creates it anew. Fact 78. Vishnu has descended to Earth 9 times in different avatars to restore balance when evil threatens to overwhelm good. His most famous avatars are Rama, hero of the epic Ramayana, and Krishna, the divine charioteer in the Mahabharata. Hindus believe Vishnu's 10th avatar, Kalki, will come at the end of the current age, riding a white horse and wielding a blazing sword to end evil and begin a new golden age. Fact 79. The Ramayana tells how Prince Rama, an avatar of Vishnu, had his wife Sita kidnapped by the demon king Ravana. With the help of the monkey god Hanuman and an army of monkeys and bears, Rama invaded Lanka, defeated Ravana, and rescued Sita. The story celebrates duty, loyalty, and righteousness. It's been retold countless times across Asia, and the monkey Hanuman became one of Hinduism's most beloved deities. Fact 80. The Mahabharata, one of the longest epic poems ever written, tells of a devastating war between 2 branches of a royal family. Within this epic is the Bhagavad Gita, where Prince Arjuna, facing his relatives on the battlefield, refuses to fight. His charioteer, Krishna, reveals himself as Vishnu and teaches Arjuna about duty, righteousness, and the nature of the soul. The Gita has become one of Hinduism's most sacred texts, teaching that doing one's duty righteously, without attachment to results, is the highest path. From the jade palaces of China to the sacred mountains of Japan, from the mighty rivers of India to the temple walls of Southeast Asia, these stories teach harmony with nature, respect for ancestors, the importance of duty, and the eternal cycle of creation and destruction. Let these ancient wisdoms settle over your thoughts like evening mist over rice paddies. For our final journey, let's explore the myths and legends from every corner of the world, stories that deserve to be remembered, tales that are less famous but equally beautiful. Fact 80. 1. African mythology is incredibly diverse, with hundreds of distinct cultures each having their own rich traditions. Yet certain themes appear repeatedly: trickster gods who use cunning over strength, ancestor spirits who must be honored, and the belief that the boundary between spiritual and physical worlds is thin and constantly crossed. Fact 82. Anansi the spider, from West African folklore, is one of mythology's greatest tricksters. Sometimes he's a spider, sometimes a man, and sometimes something in between. He uses wit to defeat stronger opponents, often getting himself into trouble through greed or pride before cleverly escaping. Anansi stories were brought to the Americas by enslaved Africans, where they evolved into Brer-Rabbit tales. The message was clear: the weak can defeat the strong through intelligence. Fact 83. In Yoruba mythology from Nigeria, Eshu is a divine trickster and messenger between heaven and earth. He isn't evil or good, but represents chaos and unpredictability. Eshu tests humans to reveal their character. He must be honored first in any ceremony because he controls communication with other gods. The Yoruba understood that life is unpredictable and that we must respect chaos as much as order. Fact 84. The Dogon people of Mali have sophisticated astronomical knowledge incorporated into their mythology. They told French anthropologists in the 1930s about Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye, which wasn't confirmed by Western astronomers until decades later. Whether ancient wisdom or cosmic coincidence, the Dogon myths show the profound connection between mythology and the careful observation of nature. Fact 85. Polynesian mythology, spread across the vast Pacific Islands, shares remarkable similarities despite thousands of miles between cultures. Maui, the trickster demigod, appears in myths from Hawaii to New Zealand. He fished up islands from the ocean floor, slowed the sun to make days longer, and stole fire from the gods to give to humans. Like Prometheus, Maui's story shows that heroes help humanity, even when it angers the gods. Fact 86. The Maori of New Zealand tell how Maui's greatest feat was also his downfall. He tried to achieve immortality for humanity by passing through the goddess of death, Hinenui-Tepo, while she slept. As he climbed into her body, trying to emerge from her mouth, a bird companion laughed at the sight. The goddess woke, clenched her teeth, and killed Maui. That's why humans remain mortal, because someone laughed at the wrong moment. Fact 87. Hawaiian mythology tells of Pele, the volcano goddess, passionate and destructive. Her fiery temper caused volcanoes to erupt. She could appear as a beautiful young woman or an old crone. According to tradition, taking lava rocks from Hawaii will bring Pele's curse, and the national park receives packages of rocks mailed back from tourists who experienced bad luck after taking them. The stones usually include letters begging Pele's forgiveness. Fact 88. Aboriginal Australian mythology describes the dream time, the eternal time when ancestral spirits created the world. The dream time isn't the past, it's an eternal present that can be accessed through ritual, song, and art. Songlines are invisible pathways across Australia created by ancestral beings, and Aboriginal people can navigate thousands of miles by singing the songs associated with these paths. The land itself is a living story. Fact 89. The rainbow serpent, a creator deity common to many Aboriginal groups, shaped the landscape by travelling across the formless earth. Where the rainbow serpent moved, it created rivers, waterholes, and valleys. It brought rain and fertility, but could also bring devastating floods when angered. This ancient mythology shows sophisticated understanding of water's crucial role in the Australian landscape. Fact 90. Native American mythology is equally diverse, with over 500 distinct nations, each with unique traditions. However, many share the concept of a great spirit or creator, the importance of balance with nature, and the belief that all things possess spirit: rocks, rivers, animals, and plants. These beliefs weren't superstition, but represented a worldview where humans weren't separate from or superior to nature, but participants in a greater whole. Fact 91. The Navajo tell of Spider Woman, who taught humans to weave and gave them wisdom. The Lakota speak of white buffalo calf woman who brought the sacred pipe and taught 7 sacred rituals. The Haida of the Pacific Northwest tell of Raven, a trickster who stole the sun, moon, and stars to bring light to the world. Each story teaches that knowledge comes from the spirit world and must be respected. Fact 92. Inuit mythology, shaped by the harsh Arctic environment, tells of Sedna, goddess of the sea and marine animals. In one version, her father threw her from his kayak during a storm. As she clung to the boat, he chopped off her fingers, which became seals, whales, and walruses. Sedna sank to the ocean floor, where she rules over sea creatures. When humans broke taboos, Sedna would hold back the animals, and shamans had to travel to her realm to comb her hair and apologize, convincing her to release the animals again. Fact 93. The Aztec creation myth tells that the gods sacrificed themselves to create the sun. The universe had been created and destroyed 4 times before. In the 5th age, our age, the gods gathered at Teotihuacan. 2 gods threw themselves into a great fire, and from their sacrifice rose the sun and moon. But the sun wouldn't move across the sky until all the other gods sacrificed themselves too. The Aztecs believed that just as the gods sacrificed themselves to create the world, humans must offer sacrifice to keep the sun moving. This belief led to their infamous practice of human sacrifice. Fact 94. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, was one of the most important Aztec gods, a creator deity associated with wind, wisdom, and the morning star. According to myth, Quetzalcoatl descended into the underworld to gather bones of previous humans, then mixed them with his own blood to create humanity. He taught humans agriculture, calendar-making, and writing. When he left, he promised to return, a prophecy that complicated the Spanish conquest, as some believed the conquistador Cortés might be Quetzalcoatl returning. Fact 95. The Incas of Peru believed their emperor was the son of Inti, the sun god, and that the emperor would become a star after death. They built Machu Picchu and other sites oriented to astronomical events. The Inca creation myth tells of Viracocha, who emerged from Lake Titicaca and created the sun, moon, stars, and humanity. After creating the world, Viracocha walked across it teaching humans, then walked into the Pacific Ocean and disappeared. Fact 96. Baltic mythology from Lithuania, Latvia, and parts of Poland persisted longer than most European pagan traditions. Dievas, the sky god, ruled over a pantheon that included Pacunus, the thunder god, who battled demons. The world tree connected heaven, earth, and the underworld. Baltic tribes practiced tree worship and believed household spirits, called kaukas, brought good luck. Elements of Baltic paganism survived into the 20th century, sometimes blending with Christianity. Fact 97. Filipino mythology tells of Bathala, the supreme god who created the world from his own sweat after emerging from a cosmic egg. The Philippines' many islands developed distinct traditions, but common themes include belief in ancestor spirits, nature spirits called Diwata, and shape-shifting aswang who terrorize villages at night. These beliefs persist alongside Christianity and Islam, creating a unique, layered spiritual tradition. Fact 98. Slavic mythology before Christianization featured gods like Perun, the thunder god, Veles, god of earth, water, and the underworld, and Morana, goddess of winter and death. The Slavs celebrated seasonal festivals marking the eternal battle between light and dark, summer and winter. Many traditions survived in folk practices, decorating birch trees, jumping over bonfires on midsummer night, and elaborate harvest celebrations. Fact 99. Persian mythology from ancient Iran gave us Zoroastrianism, perhaps the first monotheistic religion, which influenced Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It taught of Ahura Mazda, the supreme good god, locked in eternal struggle with Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit. Humans must choose between good and evil in thoughts, words, and deeds. After death, souls would cross the Chinvat Bridge. The righteous would cross safely to paradise, while the wicked would fall into hell. This concept of heaven, hell, and judgment day became central to later religions. Fact 100. Our final fact is this: mythology isn't dead. Every culture continues creating myths. Modern myths include alien encounters, urban legends, superhero stories, and even conspiracy theories. We still seek to understand our place in the universe, to explain what frightens us, to celebrate heroes, and to pass wisdom to the next generation. The human need for story is eternal. As long as we exist, we'll tell tales of gods and monsters, heroes and tricksters, love and loss, creation and destruction. These stories are what make us human. And so our journey through 100 myths and legends comes to its gentle end. We've traveled from Mount Olympus to Valhalla, from the Nile to the Ganges, from the rainbow serpent's tracks to the feathered serpent's temples. These stories, some thousands of years old, told in languages long dead, by civilizations vanished, live on because they speak to something eternal in the human spirit. They remind us that our ancestors looked at the same stars, felt the same emotions, asked the same questions. Let these ancient stories cradle you now, like humanity has been cradled by story since we first gathered around fires in the darkness. Let myths and legends carry you into dreams where anything is possible. The gods are sleeping, the heroes rest, the tricksters pause their tricks, and you, dear traveler, through time, can finally rest as well. Sleep well. May your dreams be filled with wonders as ancient as story itself. Good night.